Well, welcome everyone to our September coffee chat. I'm Laura Knutson-Murray. I am the GIS coordinator and community outreach assistant with IrisBG. And with us today is Shanna Jones, our social media and community outreach assistant. The recording, presentation, and other material will be made available in our knowledge library. All of our previous coffee chats can be found there under the category articles and presentations. You can follow the topic IrisBG coffee chats and be notified by email every time something new is published. And the idea behind these sessions is that we at IrisBG would like to offer you a space where you can connect with your peers, have a chat about IrisBG or any issues that arise with the work with your collection. We don't have a fixed format for these, so please get in touch with me if you would like to present a challenge, talk on a topic. It can be anything big or small. Hopefully today you will make some new connections and together we would become a bit wiser. Save the date. We have a coffee chat next month that is talking about recording and sharing invasive plant data. That's on October 14th. And then if you happen to be in Europe or the UK, the Eurogard is happening and Shanna and Oyvind will be there. So come and say hi. Here's an overview of everyone that signed up for our coffee chat today. It's great to see so many of you from all over. And we will launch our regular poll gauging experience level with IrisBG. What is your level of expertise using IrisBG? Are you a novice, intermediate, advanced, or still trying out the trial? Looks like 60% intermediate and 27% advanced, 7% novice, and 7% trying out the trial. Great. Our agenda today is what is new within IrisBG. Shanna Jones will be presenting, and I know all of you probably know Shanna pretty well. She provides our excellent customer service and support. But did you know that most of the images are things that Shanna has grown herself in her garden? So she's quite a gardener. I just had to embarrass her and share that because she's a good photographer and gardener as well. So without further ado, Shanna, I will turn the controls over to you.
Well, hello. Welcome to our September coffee chat. I am Shanna Jones, and today's session is focused on new features and efficiency tips. So we'll just walk through some highlights from the last 3 IrisBG updates, starting with the version that was released in November of 2024. We'll show you how gardens are putting these tools into practice and wrap up with some practical shortcuts and workflow tips. The update released in November of last year gave Garden Explorer a big boost. One of the biggest changes is conservation status filtering. So you can now search collections by IUCN Red List categories. And this helps highlight threatened species that makes your Explorer page more meaningful to the public. We also added CITES status, so plants regulated under international trade laws can be easily identified. And this is especially useful if your garden manages species with permit requirements. A third conservation-related search is the invasiveness blacklist. This allows you to identify non-native species that pose ecological risk in your region. In time, it's important to balance transparency with protection. For vulnerable plants, you may not want to show precise location data online. So to get a little more insight on this topic, you can watch our coffee chat with Mish Pilet from earlier this year. Beyond conservation filters, we added new search parameters. The first is location. For example, Kadori Farm and Botanical Garden can use this feature to share their fern walk online. Visitors can click the link and immediately see plants growing in that particular region of the garden. You can also generate searches by genus. For example, Cheekwood highlights their cornus collection this way. You could promote a genus link on your website, on social media, or even on QR codes in the garden. A great seasonal use is at Cheekwood, they promote Tennessee's Dogwood Day in April. So this is perfect for spotlighting their cornus sessions. Likewise, the family parameter lets you spotlight entire plant families. Smithsonian Gardens uses this one in particular to showcase their Orchidaceae collection. So imagine creating a family-focused link for your maples, palms, or ferns. It's a simple way to connect plant science with public storytelling. Another option is the theme parameter, and themes can be set up in your definitions. For example, medicinal plants, seasonal displays, or native species. Mount Airy Arboretum highlights their seasonal display plants. Garden Explorer maps have also been improved. The map display is now larger, giving users a clearer and more engaged viewing of your collection. So when you select an accession point, the entry is displayed below the map. But when you select a garden location point, all accessions listed within that location are displayed below the map. So I'm sure you've all noticed that this has occurred on your Garden Explorer. Now let's shift over to reports. This release introduced several new reporting features to help staff manage data more effectively. We added a new collection location report. This makes it easier to see and manage references for accession items, especially when you're tracking locations with sub-references. Another small but helpful change is taxon description, which can now be included as a field in reports. I think this gives you a richer reporting option, especially when working with taxa details. For instance, extracting taxon entry descriptions can help support your botanical education initiatives, plant-themed blogs for your website, marketing efforts, and more. Another useful update is in the items map reports. Now you can create maps that help staff and volunteers locate plants for placing new labels. It's a simple way to visualize which accessions need labeling right on the map. And one more exciting option is querying by origin. So this allows you to display plant accessions by their place of origin, helping you share the global story of your collection in a way that's visually engaging and meaningful for interpretation. Now we'll look at updates in taxa and taxonomic groups. You can now choose between two verification link options built right into Iris, Plants of the World Online and World Flora Online. Both are authoritative resources and both are free and globally accessible. And here's an example of how it works in practice, using the name link field to verify Lobelia cardinalis directly in IrisBG. If you'd like to learn more about how these fields work, there's a detailed article in our knowledge library on taxonomic groups. So I did a little bit of a deep dive because I wasn't sure exactly what the similarities and the differences are between the two. So I did this for myself, but maybe you could benefit as well. So both POWO and WFO are used for name verification. They cover vascular plants and bryophytes, and they provide accepted names plus synonyms for cross-checking. So they're both widely used, as many of us know, by herbaria, botanic gardens, and arboreta. WFO is the global consensus list of plant names created by the WFO Consortium. It's the successor to the plant list. And then plant lists are released twice a year in June and December. But the taxonomic backbone is constantly refined by experts. The goal here is to provide a stable, authoritative reference. POWO, on the other hand, is maintained by Q, updated weekly, drawing heavily from the World Checklist of Vascular Plants. POWO includes distribution data, images, plant uses, and conservation status where available. It tends to reflect Q's latest research faster than WFO. So, how do they differ? WFO is more of a stable reference standard with updates driven by consensus, and POWO is more dynamic and richly annotated, often quicker to integrate new discoveries. So IrisBG gives you access to both, so you can choose what's best for your workflow. And just a little Venn diagram, because I like it. I like all the colors and the side by sides. So that was for me basically, but hopefully that was good for you too. So as with every release, there's a knowledge library article covering all of these updates in detail, along with instructions and downloadable links. And we will be sharing like the PDF of all of these slides, so you can go back and click on all the links you see. So now we'll move on to part 2, the May 2025 release. And we're starting with the new features and accessions. This update introduced custom attributes at the item level. It was a very sought after feature. So now you can track special details for individual accession items. So this is perfect for seasonal displays or one-off notes that don't, necessarily fit into any of the standard fields. Custom attributes can also be managed through data imports. And this is a screenshot of a template including those item level custom attributes. So now you can bulk load item level details instead of entering them one by one. One of the best real world uses of item custom attributes came up in our May 2025 coffee chat on seasonal displays. Philo Lee's plant curator John Chow shared his smart system for tracking seasonal displays across their formal cut flower beds and vegetable gardens. So with this new functionality, IrisBG makes it much easier to capture and manage those kinds of detailed records. We also added a new collections comments field on the accession details screen. And this is useful for notes that apply to the whole collection entry. For example, information about provenance, source, and material received, and that sort of context. Another addition is the item status comments. This gives you a place to add more detail about why an item status has been set a certain way. For example, whether it's temporarily off display or being monitored for health. This release also expanded propagation tracking. We added 3 new fields: needed dates, numbered, germinated, and germination rate. And the last one is calculated automatically based on the quantity recorded and the number germinated and also generated. Here you can see how the germination rate percentage is calculated automatically, removing the need to do the math manually. Small change, but one that, we hope saves time and reduces errors. So next we'll look at data imports. Several new options were added to make it easier to bring data into your database. You can now import full accession files directly, which helps speed up data entry and updates. And I'm just also including what those fields would look like. These are the mandatory fields for the import to be successful. We also added the ability to import determination history. This means you can maintain a record of taxonomic changes without needing to update each one manually. And you can also import full taxon files directly. One of the biggest highlights in this release is our new observations module. This lets you record and track life cycle events like flowering, fruiting, pests, or any other notes you'd like to capture. And this is an example of how observations look in the IrisBG software. You can quickly log phenology data or pest occurrences directly onto the accession record. Better still, observations can be reported on. And this allows you to generate data summaries, whether it's tracking flowering times across multiple years or monitoring pest and disease events. There's also a full tutorial available in our knowledge library that walks through how to set up your observations, code list, and actually use the module. For Garden Explorer, we just wanted to clarify a simple thing. In order for themes to display publicly on your Garden Explorer, the description field for the theme type in IrisBG must have a value. So if that the description field is left blank, the theme will not display on your Explorer. Reports also gained new flexibility with permit fields. You can now filter by permit status, such as available, not required, or unknown. And this is especially helpful for managing compliance in accessions, items, and exchanges. As with every update, there's a detailed knowledge library article covering all of these May 2025 features. If you'd like to explore custom attributes, propagation fields, or observations in more depth, you can find the step-by-step guidance here and with those other linked articles. In our most recent release, version 4.6.2.250.81, there were several error fixes. And then there's a few new fields. We introduced a new infra cultivar field for label reports. So this field combines the intra-specific names with the cultivar names, which is especially helpful for gardens running label programs with limited field space. So I don't know if any of you have that issue, but we do have a few clients that do. So this will be able to keep those labels both concise and accurate. We also enhanced taxa search. You can now filter results to show only taxa that are actually present in your collection. And you can do that by using these options: publication, QR code link, or QR code type when performing advanced searches. So this helps streamline searches by cutting out, extraneous results, with taxa that don't actually exist in your garden. Reports on taxa also became more flexible. You can now have additional search criteria. We do actually have this search criteria available in the query builder for taxa 02, 03, and 04 reports. And this gives you more ways to tailor your reports for your collection. And yes, you guessed it, there's a Knowledge Library article that walks you through all of these details for our latest version. So you'll find all of the updates. There are many that I didn't mention. You'll find all of those in this article here. And now we're going to turn to efficiency tips. So just a few practical things that you can do every day to save time and get more out of your IrisBG. Control+Delete will instantly clear a field for you in Iris. From time to time, we get questions on how to do that, and this is how. When exporting large data sets, it's important to use best practices. So we recommend saving the reports. We recommend saving it as an CSV or a tax report instead of the Excel type when you are exporting large data sets. This is something that I just recently learned, but the Excel format stores all the data in memory before writing it to a file. So for large exports, this can slow things down significantly and may even trigger out-of-memory errors. So the CSV and the text formats are much faster and less likely to trigger those memory errors. And also, they're still easy to open in Excel. The default settings for printing in Excel have cells with no borders on a page with the orientation as portrait. This isn't, ideal for IrisBG's detail-heavy reports. So in our article, Standardized Settings in Excel for IrisBG reports, this further explains the steps to take to save those print settings for your reports. One of the most powerful efficiency tools is using the IrisBG ArcGIS mobile solution with field maps. In addition to capturing GPS coordinates, you can also update over 50 fields at the accession item level and attach images. You can work online or offline, and then your changes sync back into IrisBG. You can use custom base maps or web map services. And if you pair the app with a high accuracy GNSS receiver, you'll get excellent precision for your mapping work as well. Generating a report is a good way to start a template for data import, exporting the fields you want to update, making your changes, and then importing them back in. It's much faster than building templates from scratch, and you should be sure to check in with the report type screen for the module you want to import that data for. So here is an example of preparing an export about library items report. And then after the report has been exported, you should clear all the fields except the column titles and use this as your starting point for your template. So it's not all done until you then check in with IrisBG's built-in reference guide to ensure that you have included all the required fields and the correct value formats, because as you know, some of the fields require code, some text, some integers. So it's always good to check in with the rules. If you receive errors upon import, don't forget to review the field errors dropdown. And so doing this will point out exactly which fields are causing those issues. And then you can fix them right away when you go back to your spreadsheet. It points out exactly which fields are causing issues, so you can fix them right away instead of hunting through the whole entire file. You can see this here. This tells you which row, what the field column is, and all of the information. Another helpful clue, if you see tabs, as you can see in the orange rectangle box or rectangle, there's question marks and then there's asterisks. So the question marks signify that there are problems. And if you click on those, you can see more details. As you can see, there's like the red dots that say error on the status. So to wrap it all up, here are a few ways to stay connected. Follow our new version articles in the Knowledge Library. This way you'll receive notifications each time we release a new software updates. Subscribe to the IrisBG newsletter. You'll get our monthly highlights plus special updates a few times a year whenever new software versions are released. And please follow us on social media. we post news on upcoming coffee chats, when coffee chats, the coffee chat recordings are released to watch, new software releases, new knowledge library articles, events, and more. And that brings us to the end of today's coffee chat. Our final slide here includes all the links and articles that I mentioned today in order of appearance. And you'll find release notes, tutorials, and resources for everything that we've covered. So thank you so much for joining us and going through all of that with me. We'd love to hear how you're using these new features. And yeah, please feel free to share your questions and ideas. We're always eager to learn from you and hear what's working. So thank you.